Okay, I think I am going on YouTube and Odyssey. Am I going on Rumble? That's the question. Hang on. Okay, I think I am going on YouTube. Rumble still says waiting for stream. Hang on a second. Let me make sure. Okay, YouTube is going. Rumble, are you going Rumble? Hello, SKM. Yes, I'm adding Rumble to the mix. I'm now live streaming in 3 places if Rumble is going. Hang on. Rumble still says waiting for stream. I have no idea if Rumblers can see me or not. I'm just going to try to watch the stream and see what happens. By the way, if you'd like to, I put the links in a pinned comment in the chat in YouTube. No, I'm looking over on Rumble and I'm still seeing that little loop. Okay, why is this not working? It says it's streaming. It says it's streaming at 30 frames a second. No one chatting on Odyssey yet. I also can't pop out the chat on Rumble, so I can't put it on the screen for you, but hang on. We might have to do this another night anyway if no one shows up, but it would at least be nice to know. Let me double check my stream key and everything. Let me see if the webcam's making a difference. Hang on. The stream key is fine. It's streaming to Rumble. It's actually sending the video to Rumble. It's just not showing up. Is it showing up elsewhere in my channel? Did they make it a different video? How do I... My channels. Shane DK. January 22 live stream. It says just now. Ah, okay. It is working. All right. I have no idea how long it's been working, but it is working. All right. So I guess it's just a matter of waiting for co-hosts and supporters to show up. SPC is kind of coming off the... Hang on. Let me see if I can... All right. Republican democracy. Wonder if Shane can explain in detail about the two. Yeah, that's pretty basic. Hang on, let me get my webcam back on. Okay. So basically, democracy is the 51% telling the 49% do what we say. Republic is a way of trying to avoid both the democracy, which is tyranny of the majority, and oligarchy, which is tyranny of the minority. You know, or like a monarchy, which is tyranny of the one. So, you know, it's all about trying to balance that out. When they say they're a democracy, they just don't get it. It's like 1/6 of our government is supposed to be democratic. By the way, our founders made it. Because you got the 3 co-equal branches of government. The judicial branch is not elected. Supreme Court members are appointed. The president is not directly elected. He's elected through the Electoral College. And by the way, there's nothing in that says that, people vote for the president. States can do whatever they want to select their electors. It just so happens that the states have said, okay, we'll have an election and we'll do a winner-take-all thing. Which is the kind of thing our founders wouldn't have wanted. Congress, the House of Representatives, is the only democratic body there's supposed to be in the federal government. The Senate, we've talked about this before, was never supposed to be democratic. They were appointed by the states, and the 17th Amendment abrogated that and threw off that. And now we're seeing the troubles with democracy if you look at all the corruption and everything in the Senate. So yeah, that's the basic difference. What is your opinion of people quitting because they're trying to save their mental health at best or lazy at worst? Yeah, if you're not going to do your job, then quit for real. Don't just sit there, do nothing, and expect to be paid for it. You're violating your contract by doing that. So yeah, it's just people who want to get paid without working. I mean, who wouldn't want to get paid without working? Let's be honest. If someone said, hey, I'll just put $1,000 into your bank account for doing nothing, no strings attached to it, at least you go, yeah, sounds good to me. But reality doesn't work that way. Cold Roman, I'm not sure what you mean on generational trauma. Let's see. Quiet quitting, I think the most obvious reason is the cost of success is going too high and they're becoming jaded. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Quick look on the other chats and see. No one on Odyssey yet. I pinned those two links, so if you want to check it out on Odyssey or Rumble. And no one's chatting on Rumble yet. And no one else is joining me. This might get kind of lonely. I'll probably give it to like 8:20, maybe 8:30 to see if anyone else shows up. And if not, we'll try it again another night. But till then, we can talk about what you guys want. One thing a lot of you might be curious about is, am I still using LastPass since the breach? The short answer is yes. I might do the move to Bitwarden. I'm not sure. I've said for a couple of years now that if I were going to start from scratch, I'd go to Bitwarden because it was open source. But people are like, oh, well, they got all of the password vaults. It's like, yeah, that's bad. But that is the exact scenario we've been protecting ourselves from. So if you've done, what I recommended, had a nice strong password, like a Diceware password, upped your iterations to something beefy. Even if you didn't do that, the default, I think, ended up being 100,100. I'm not sure how they landed on that number. Bitwarden does a similar thing, except it's like 100,001 iterations of the password stretching, the PBKDF2. So, no, I'm not worried about the hackers getting the passwords in my vault. If you are, then you basically need to change all of your passwords, because if they can hack it, they've got everything. But as long as you've got a good password, I had upped mine initially to like 180,000, and then a couple of years ago, I think for a few years I had it at 350,000, and then I upped it to like 2 million or something like that a couple of years ago. So yeah, I'm pretty well protected. But just use a password manager, whether it's Bitwarden or Dashlane or whatever. I'm not too wild about some of the things that 1Password does, but hey, if you like it, just use something. Some password manager is better than none. So that would be good, because otherwise you're vulnerable. Where if you can randomly generate, the passwords for all of your different websites with any of these, they're good. I was using LastPass because for a long time, they were kind of the only ones who were doing it right, but then everyone else caught up, and this is just something we know how to do. There is one upgrade people are talking about, which is the fact that just with GPUs, the way they're going, and the fact that Bitcoin ASICs are SHA-256, which is what PBKDFT uses, these are the algorithms for stretching out your password and keeping it secure. It's the same thing, and you can then theoretically use a Bitcoin mining ASIC to, rush through everyone's passwords. Again, if you've got a secure enough password, it doesn't matter. If your password is monkey, then no one can help you, but there might be some in-betweens there. And so the thought is to go to another algorithm like scrypt or Argon 2. And the difference with those is instead of just having it doing a lot of processing power over and over again, the way Bitcoin miners work, is you have memory hardness too. You're not just doing all these calculations. You're also accessing a bunch of stuff in memory. And that can frustrate accelerations from GPUs and ASICs. So I will say this, if Bitwarden goes to Argon 2, then I'll switch. I'll definitely switch then. But yeah, I'm not really concerned. I'm not really, in a panic. The only thing that's making me more likely to switch now is because a lot of people have. And they're reporting that the changeover to Bitwarden is really straightforward. And I was thinking, well, the changeover, I'd probably want to just take the day and just go through and just make sure everything, all of the secure notes and all of the form fills and all of the everything else I've got going on. But from what everyone's saying, I think it was P on the Discord switched over to Bitwarden, and he said it was flawless. All his secure notes and everything went over. So I might do it anyway, and I'll tell you this much: one of my criteria for doing the promos on the podcast is that it's something I use. LastPass I just kept up there just to get everyone securing their passwords, even though I long since ran past the limit of the free months I could get on that. But I kept it in there anyway. If I switch, I will not keep it in there. I don't know if I do a new one for Bitwarden or find something else I can do a promo for or something like that. But anyway, that's kind of the quick story on that. So good. All right, chat, don't fail me now. Or is this one of those things where I have to refresh it? Hang on. Oh, okay. There, it was working. Okay. Sorry about that. Can I scroll this thing up? Okay. I guess it hasn't gone off the top. All right, what did I miss then? Okay, SKM, the price of everything is going up. Price of a house, having a family. Young people are seeing this and becoming more demoralized. Well, that's what inflation does. Don't know what else to tell you. Generational trauma is basically the idea that things from the past can be passed down to people today. Like African Americans still suffer from slavery, and no, there's nothing to that. Are sentence passwords safe? It kind of depends on the nature of the sentence and how long it is. The thing about a sentence is what determines one word to the next is not random. Unlike a diceware password where all of the words are random, you throw dice or use a computer algorithm to pick them at random. Adjective, noun, verb, that kind of sentence structure, and transitive verbs have an object. It's not random. So how did you construct the sentence? If you're coming up with a silly Mad Lib kind of sentence, and it's like, adjective, noun, transitive verb, the object of the, object or something like that. And you just kind of fill them in like Mad Libs. Well, you're selecting a random noun from a list of how many nouns. And that'll determine the amount of entropy that's in there. And then you select the verb from a list of how many verbs. And then you multiply that, and the adjective from the list of how many adjectives, and you multiply that. So, it would be possible to do it. And do it securely. It would have to be a longer sentence, because even with the diceware passwords, you want to do 4 or 5 words. I mean, 6 would really get you nice and secure, but do at least 4. And so those are just 4 random words. I guess if you wanted to build a sentence around them and type them in and make it easy to remember, that would be a mnemonic at least. But yeah, those are the things you have to think about. Some people want the real random looking passwords, but they want to use like the lyrics to their favorite song and then take the first letter of each word. It's like, well, okay, yeah. But how random actually is that? You can't say that that's going to be, if you end up with 12 characters, 12 randomly selected characters, if they're selected by a random number generator, will be plenty. That'll be fine. But if they're like the first letter, the English has some letters that are in more common usage than others, so it would just have to be longer. So, what's your thoughts on gender identity? Well, I mean, it's a thing. There's a part of your brain that's dedicated to, like, your body. This is the shape of my body. This is the position it's in. This is the place where my body ends and the rest of the universe begins and stuff like that. And so it's the full, structure of your body, including your primary sex features. So, if you, what they call gender dysphoria is when that identity, and this is like really in your lower brain, when that is like female but your body's male or vice versa. No one has a body identity that completely matches what you really look like. But for most of us, it's close enough that it doesn't cause a problem. But if it's off like that, it can actually be very problematic. So, yeah, that's the thing. And then there's something else entirely, which is gender expression. And I think we've talked about this, where you have like different aspects of the brain. It's more of a statistical. Some features are more on the masculine side and some features are more on the feminine side. But no one really has a brain that's all the way masculine in all things and all the way feminine in all things. So that's a different thing entirely. So, what about passwords that are 50 to 60 characters long? Again, it depends on how they're generated. If it's a lowercase a 50 times over, it's not going to be very secure. It's just about how much entropy it's in. Like I said, if it's randomly selected, 12 is plenty. But if you're talking like something like a sentence or a saying or song lyrics or something like that, I think probably if you had 50, 60 characters, that should be plenty. So. But you'd probably be able to make a shorter password using diceware passwords. My recommendation, the one I used, the EFF, has a list of passwords they use, and you can download all the diceware thing and roll the dice yourself. In this nice little, make sure no cameras are on, go in a closet or somewhere. Make sure no one else is around, no one can see you, and roll the dice. You can do it on the computer, but are you absolutely sure there's no malware on the computer? So yeah, length can actually make a difference. Like, when I'm talking about 12 characters, I'm talking about all the characters you can type on a US keyboard. There are 94 non-white space typable characters on a standard US keyboard. But that means that you're holding shift for basically half of them if you randomly generate it. If you decide you don't want to go through all that and say, I just want all the ones that I can type without shift. Lowercase letters, no uppercase, the numbers, but no ampersands or anything. And things like, the single quote, the semicolon and stuff like that. But you just don't want to hit the shift key. Well, you cut that in half. So, basically, when you do the math on it, that 12 character password strength without the shift key, it would need to be 14 characters instead of 12. So it just all depends on what your entropy is and how much randomness there is in it. So, oh, Jeremy Jones. Oh God, did you see how he ended up starting another thread because he kept getting his ass handed to him? Yeah, that's on the Second Amendment is a curse video. Oh man. And people wonder why I say it's a cult. Yeah, so check that out. Second Amendment is a curse. Check my channel. It's a recent video, and this is in the comments. Look for Jeremy Jones. All emotional appeal, no substance. Yeah, because he doesn't have the substance. He doesn't have it. And I thought it was sick that Joe Biden, on Martin Luther King Day, when he's, giving his speech about Martin Luther King, starts talking about gun control. When gun control is a racist eugenics policy that was used against the civil rights movement and Dr. King specifically to try and stop the civil rights movement. Of course, Biden would know all about that because he was there, stopping black kids from getting into white schools and stuff like that, and passing all this crazy stuff like the Bail Reform Act and all of these other horrible things that he did with his bestest buddy, Strom Thurmond. Oh, God, if you don't know who Strom Thurmond is, look him up. The guy was in the Senate until he was like 900 years old or something. He was a fossil, but man, he was this big white supremacist. And so, yeah, Joe Biden was his bestest buddy. So, yeah, that's how it is. And everyone's like, oh, Biden, he's just so wonderful. No, he isn't. No, he isn't. No, he is 1,000 times the white supremacist that Trump ever thought about being. So. The calls to break up Ticketmaster due to the whole controversy. I'm not familiar with this controversy. Use the UK as example. The homicide rate was even lower before gun control. Yeah. Every time they would pass, I got a video on this somewhere, I forget the title of it, but every time they passed gun control, starting like early 1900s, I think it was, every time they restricted guns more and more, the crime rate went up. So, Martin Luther King Jr., was he a socialist? What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, I don't think he was a full-on hammer and sickle wearing, yay, Soviet Union socialist. He was a conservative. He was a conservative Christian Republican, but yeah, he did have strong socialist tendencies, especially when you compare him to Malcolm X post Nation of Islam, after he turned his back on that. I don't think it's as strong a difference as the difference between W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. Du Bois was just the worst, and Booker T. Washington, I think, pretty much had it right. So. Oh, what time is it? Hang on a second. Yeah, if no one else gets in here, and it might just be me in the chat for another few minutes, but well, let me see what's going on the Discord. Yeah, not seeing anyone on the Discord. We might have to try this another day. But I'll have to verify this when it gets into the archives. But it looks like I am successfully streaming on 3 different websites: YouTube, Odyssey, and Rumble. Anyone over there? Let's see. Nothing on the Odyssey chat, and I don't see anything on the Rumble chat. So. But it's doing it. It's doing it, and I'll check the archives when they come up. So We'll see how well that works. And then we'll reschedule this. What is it? The 18th? Yeah, I got can't do it on the 30th because I'm getting a new AC unit, which is going to be really nice. I made sure that I got the quote and got the money done last year, because thanks to Joe Biden, air conditioning is getting a lot more expensive. Yep, he's just screwed up so much that you don't even know. Even like the AC people, they were telling me that they didn't even know about until like October 30th. So they've got like 2 months, in the year, when they're, trying to put in all these air conditioners. And they're starting 2023 with a whole bunch of stock that they can't do anything with because he only gave them 2 months. Crazy. He's just messing up so much. It's just amazing. All right, what about the Black Panthers? Yeah, I mean, it's been so long since I read up on the Black Panthers. Some stuff about them was good. There was issues of violence. I think a lot of the reports of violence were exaggerated, but not made up out of whole cloth. So they just they probably weren't the best organization to hitch your wagon to. All right. Yeah, let's go until 8:30 exactly, see if anyone else comes in. And if not, we'll try this another day. But at least we got to talk about a few things in the chat. And like one lesson we learned from the UK going back to SKM, like 96, 98, whatever year that was, they passed the handgun ban. You had the increase in crime, but it's interesting the kind of crime that got increased. Hot burglaries went up. Overall, the amount of burglaries, I don't know if it stayed the same or it went up slightly, but it was more of a shift from cold burglaries to hot burglaries. Cold burglaries are when they break in when no one's there. Hot burglaries are the dangerous ones. They break in when someone's home. And they're not going to want to do that, especially if they think you're armed. But if they think you're helpless and they think you've been disarmed, they're going to be a little more likely to say, hey, what's he going to do? We'll just go in and break in when people are there. And that is the incredibly dangerous situation. The Taylor Swift concert fiasco. Yeah, I don't really know anything about that. I think I vaguely heard something about that, but I don't really know anything, enough to have any kind of opinion on it or know what the details are or anything. All right, I have 1 minute to 8:30. You want to talk about anything else right quick, get it in the chat. And then we'll wrap it up and do this another night. But I do appreciate SPC, Sid Padmanabhan, Cold Ramen, you guys coming into the chat. Dumb phones or flip phones? Flip phones are durable as hell. Yeah, and they're secure. They are secure. I mean, if you just want a phone and you don't care about the apps, yeah, you're not going to get more secure than a flip phone. Essentially, people are calling Ticketmaster a monopoly. I think basically they are, but I don't know all of the regulations about that or anything. I know this is part of the recording music industry cartel. They've got the fixes in for everything. For the longest time, it's like they weren't making money on albums, the artists, but they were making money on concerts. And so that's what they would do. Now I don't even think they're making that much on concerts. They are just, this whole thing about, music piracy, taking, money from artists. It doesn't take that much from artists because they're not getting much. It's the big labels and everything that are getting it. So it's all part of the same thing. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Please keep up with the channel. Leave your comments, share your videos. Do I watch Puss in Boots? No, I do not. So, yeah, basically you gotta, until I still talk, you can interrupt me with a chat before I close it off. Or if someone else jumps in, but no one else is jumping in. So we'll just try this another night, but it was great chatting with you all. Thank you so much. Until next time, stay strong and be free.